So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10. Shortly after World War I, Russia went through a transformation that defined it for many decades. In 1918, a communist revolution took hold in Russia, and by 1918, an armed revolution began as civil war broke out. This lasted for about 6 years until 1923 when the Soviet Union was firmly established. Officially, the Soviet Union was formed in 1922, but the civil war did not stop immediately. Some record it ending in October of 1922, some the following year. The Soviet Union was led by heavy left-leaning individuals. Lenin pushed to end the war with Germany and promised land to the peasants as well as food. During the time leading up to the Civil War and after, there were strikes, mutinies, protests, etc. Much like what we are seeing in America today, Lenin did not hold power long. He led Soviet Russia from 1917 to 1922, then the Soviet Union from 1922 to 1924 when he died. Joseph Stalin then took over and led from 1922 to 1953. Stalinism was implemented in 1927, which translated into a single-party system that ran a police state. The purpose of this writing is not to show the backstory of Russia, but to focus specifically on two aspects: Operation Trust and the parallels to America in 2021. As the saying is often repeated, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Operation Trust was a government program that was aimed at diffusing the opposition while the Soviet Union grew its roots. There were a few assassination attempts and uprisings during the early 1920s. This was implemented in 1921. It was framed as a revolutionary system and they used many truths in order to lure dissenters. What OD logic in reality? Occurred during this time in Russia was much of the population left to other countries. They could freely gather and discuss ideas. Not only was this operation great at getting people within Russia, but it was adept at pulling people from other countries that were a threat. Spies even fell for the lies, including a famous spy named Sidney Riley who was lured to the border and captured. He was tortured and executed on November 5, 1925 according to reports. Why this historical event was of such interest is because there is a movement many will recognize as Q or QAnon. Operation Trust gave people partial truth with strategic lies that lead many to situations where they were captured or executed. They gave the illusion that Russia was going to be okay and that those fighting against the communism were winning. Today, we have a person or possibly AI that is posting incredibly similar ideas. Things like, trust the plan, or the military has been making arrests and Trump will be inaugurated still. Today is the 18th of January. What occurred on January 6, 2021, follows the same pattern and even would back in 1921 Russia. Only instead of ideas being spread on the ground, ideas are spread through the internet at lightning speed. One thing we saw at the Capitol was a large representation of QAnon. A small group went there with zip ties, weapons, etc., believing they were on a mission that was relayed by QAnon. This is where Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed inside the Capitol. If you take into account the many things that did not add up, including police removing barricades and encouraging people to come inside, police standing down and opening doors where protesters walked in unhindered, how the police took pictures with many protesters early on inside the Capitol, how there were people on bullhorns barking orders, including a woman who was guiding people where to go to drop down to a lower level within the Capitol. Regardless of what the mainstream media is saying, Antifa was clearly present and were provocatoring people. One was caught saying to burn the Capitol down and then appeared on CNN later saying he was just reporting what was happening. He has been since arrested as more videos come out. There were also the Boogaloo Boys present. This is a left-leaning, fully armed, group that backs BLM. As of this post, they are recorded as being present in about 6 capitals currently fully armed. What we know happened in Soviet Russia and the Soviet Union, the entire event that we are seeing unfold is eerily reminiscent of the past. QAnon encouraged people to storm the Capitol, leftist provocateurs ignited the violence that pulled in many Q supporters, crazy right-wing people and others, who are now on the FBI wanted list and facing years in prison with felony charges. What does this accomplish? It has effectively taken out a good number of people brave enough to act, removed their weapons and removed them from the streets. The Capitol was a false flag setup. It is widely believed that it was supposed to be much larger, but the conservative group, en masse, did not partake in the illegal activities. Now what are we hearing from Q? Trust the plan. Arrests are being made. The Pope has been arrested. There will be blackouts on this date, which keeps changing. There will be messages over the emergency broadcast system. Don't worry. The military is at the Capitol to arrest all the evil people. Trump is playing 4D chess. It is an unpopular thing to say right now, but it is a highly probable scenario that QAnon is the modern version of Operation Trust. If one takes a moment to compare the similarities to Russia in 1921 and America in 2021, it is scary. You have the Civil War aspect. Then the communist agenda perpetuated by the left. You have a left leader coming into power who does not look sane enough to last even 2 years. Many think that Kamala Harris will be president after they vote Biden as mentally unfit relatively soon. He has trouble stringing sentences together and has a temper that comes out from time to time. In Russia, the civil war was between the Reds, Bolsheviks, and the Whites, counter-revolutionary. The interesting note, today they are using black and white or red and blue. It's classic divide and conquer. There were also economic issues and social changes that preceded the civil war in Russia. Stalin implemented a central economic plan. What is a topic today we hear about? Basic income that the government would supply. What occurred in Russia was a rapid industrial growth period that led to famine and gulags being expanded upon. The famines lead to millions starving to death, and not just in Russia. Ukraine had millions starve as a result. The estimates are between 5.5 to 8 million starvation-related deaths. Millions were a result of birth defects. At the time, Russia had about 168 million people, which is about 3.5% of the population dying from starvation-related causes. If you take that same percentage today, that would equate to almost 12 million Americans starving in the same situation. It is unclear what will happen in the next few days. Perhaps QAnon is right and Trump will swoop in and save the day like a type of Christ. However, this seems highly unlikely, though it is possible still. If you take into consideration that the capital has more troops than Canada has active troops, that they are guarding monuments that only the left target, and that President Trump has been largely silent, which is unlike him, the complete lockdown of DC including checkpoints, how much time it actually took to plan the movement of 25,000 troops, etc., you could make a case for it. Consider this. Those who know what is happening are not talking. Those who don't know a thing about what's happening are talking a whole lot. The fact is, we have no idea what's going to happen. It is quite disturbing that people will put their faith in a single letter, Q, online. No one knows who it is, or even what it is. There are speculations now that it could be an AI system learning how to infiltrate movements, not physically, but through false hopes aimed at pushing movements towards violence. The other interesting aspect to this whole thing is that Q is specifically a conservative-based audience which has a lot of Bible-believing Christians. People are putting more faith in the invisible, Q, than they are in God. Maybe the plan will be completed as people believe. But that gives only 4 years until this event happens again. What will we see when a Democrat wins the next election and Trump is out of office? This movement is bigger than if Trump gets in or not. We need to focus on preserving the Constitution and not losing the moral high ground.